Greetings, fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. A moment later, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin had each arrived in the small cubicles of the men's and women's restrooms, then turned on their phones and clicked the confirmation button on the webpage. Immediately afterward, the webpage flashed, revealing a Kongshu First High School Students Foundation Establishment Exam registration form. Zhang Yu silently filled out his information, then clicked Login. Login fee 1,000 yuan. Please confirm. Zhang Yu cursed inwardly but still clicked confirm. Along with 1,000 yuan being directly deducted from his bank account, a wave of divine power rippled through the air. The next moment, Zhang Yu only felt his feet leave the ground, as a large hole appeared in the original bathroom floor, causing his whole person to fall down. Damn it. After Zhang Yu's figure completely disappeared, the ground returned to normal, without a trace of Zhang Yu's presence just now. Zhang Yu felt his body pass through countless indescribable things. When he regained his senses, he found himself standing in an office, with a middle-aged woman in front of him looking at him calmly, saying, "Here to register for the Foundation Establishment exam." Zhang Yu sensed a faint trace of divine power on the other party's body, thinking, a human? Or a god? Seeing Zhang Yu nod, the woman handed him a contract, saying, "Registration fee is 30,000, and here are the rules to be followed for the Foundation Establishment exam. After paying the registration fee and signing this agreement, under the witness of the great God of heavenly contracts, you cannot violate the exam rules, otherwise, you will never be able to take the Foundation Establishment Certificate exam again in this lifetime." The middle-aged woman added, "And after signing the contract, outsiders will not be able to find out that you participated in this exam. Also, there is no refund for withdrawing from the competition halfway." Thinking that the registration fee was actually 30,000, Zhang Yu felt a pang in his heart. In this way, including the train ticket and the login fee just now, his balance was only a little over 10,000 yuan. I wonder if Ajian has enough money. If not, I'll have to take out a loan to register, right? Sighing inwardly, Zhang Yu lowered his head and carefully read the contract. There were many regulations in the contract, such as not disclosing any information about the specific content of this exam to the outside world, nor disclosing any information about the exam contestants, and not recording or photographing the exam site. In addition to this, there was also a warning in the contract, which the middle-aged woman mentioned. The Foundation Establishment exam is highly valued by the Heavenly Court, and is held by the 10 great sects to select talents who can establish a foundation. Don't think about playing tricks or using underhanded tactics. Once discovered by the 8 divisions of righteous gods, both candidates and related personnel will be severely punished, lightly bankrupted, and heavily cut off from the path of immortality, depriving them of all immortal potential. Zhang Yu nodded slightly, knowing that this was a warning to the candidates not to think about cheating or engaging in off-site elimination of competitors. After carefully reading through the various rules and asking about a few points of confusion, Zhang Yu signed the contract under the witness of the great God of heavenly contracts, and then paid the 30,000 yuan registration fee with some heartache. After confirming that there were no problems with the contract, the middle-aged woman continued, "All right, registration is complete. Next is the registration test. We need to test your foundation to screen out some of the weaker players, so as not to waste exam resources." With that said, she stuck a candidate number 55 on Zhang Yu's body. Hearing what the other party said, Zhang Yu's heart sank. He had never heard Zhang Pian mention anything about a test during registration. Zhang Yu asked, "Isn't today just for registration?" The middle-aged woman said casually, "This year's Foundation Establishment exam has been reformed, this is a new edition." Zhang Yu complained, "Didn't you say that the first round of exams would start in August? There are still 2 months left, I still have a lot of room to grow, I can't really test my true strength now." The middle-aged woman said impatiently, "Are you going or not? If you're not going, I'll send you away now, but the registration fee won't be refunded." Zhang Yu sighed helplessly, "Where is the test location?" The middle-aged woman pointed to the door behind Zhang Yu, saying, "The test location is outside the door." Zhang Yu opened the door and walked out. When he turned his head, he found that the door he had just opened was gone, leaving only a pure white wall. He walked forward along the corridor, and soon came to a hall. At the end of the hall, a metal door stood there, with a group of people standing in front of the metal door, seemingly looking at something. Zhang Yu walked a little closer and soon saw a familiar person playing with his phone. Yu Xingyan was replying to Li Zulian's message on his phone. Transfer me 100,000. Li Zulian, are you sure you need 100,000? Yu Xingyan, I can't disclose how the specific expenses are spent, you understand, but I need 100,000 to continue. Li Zulian, I understand, there's a confidentiality agreement, right? Looking at the 100,000 yuan that Li Zulian had sent, Yu Xingyan couldn't help but smile. The foundation establishment exam is really good. He thought to himself, besides the way to save money, if you want to go further on the path of immortality, the most important thing is the way to get money. You can't go far without this. Yu Xingyan suddenly thought of Zhang Yu. It's a pity, Zhang Yu, although I taught you the way to save money, I can't teach you the way to get money. After all, you don't have a golden core master like me. You can only blame the master for being too poor to support the two of us and can only choose the stronger one to cultivate. Just then, Yu Xingyan looked at the familiar person, who suddenly appeared in front of him and was slightly stunned. He rubbed his eyes and looked again, surprised. Zhang Yu. What are you doing here? Zhang Yu looked at the candidate number on the other party's body and smiled slightly. I'm here to participate in the foundation establishment exam, aren't you? Having read the rules thoroughly and consulted on the spot, Zhang Yu knew that the exam rules restricted external disclosure and external forces interfering with the exam order, but like other competitions, they did not prohibit candidates from understanding each other. In fact, looking at this situation, Zhang Yu strongly suspected that the exam would encourage candidates to understand each other and increase the intensity of competition. Yu Xingyan looked at Zhang Yu in some surprise, initially startled, worried that he would be discovered by acquaintances to have participated in the foundation establishment exam, but quickly realized that Zhang Yu was also a candidate, and his mood relaxed. But he couldn't figure out how the other party would appear here. How could he appear here? This is the gathering of the top high school students in the first layer, the competition of the strongest high school students, a channel that only his golden core disciples can understand. How could such a poor ghost come? Although he has good talent and good grades. But after all, he is a poor ghost. Or a poor ghost whose backer, Zhang Pianpian, has left. Just then, Bai Zhenzhen also walked to Zhang Yu's side. She patted Zhang Yu's shoulder, and looked at Yu Xingyan in surprise, saying, "Oh? You're here too? How did Bai Zhenzhen come too?" Yu Xingyan even suspected that he had come to the wrong place. Just then, a red envelope suddenly floated down, and appeared at the feet of the three. Yu Xingyan hesitated for just 0.1 seconds, and Zhang Yu had already stepped on the red envelope, then squatted down and reached out to grab it. But the red envelope was like a phantom, dissipating directly with Zhang Yu's movement. Yu Xingyan smiled. This red envelope looks like a fake. The latest novel is first published on Liu Liu's Shuba. Zhang Yu took out his vibrating phone and said in surprise, 1,000 yuan has been directly added to my account. This red envelope is a direct transfer? Yu Xingyan's face stiffened, and he immediately regretted why he had hesitated just now. Bai Zhenzhen nodded towards the front and said, that person is giving out red envelopes. I saw a man with a bare upper body in front of him constantly practicing spells. And as he practiced, from time to time a red envelope would jump out of the talisman book and fall around him. The man's name was Ye Lingxiao, a student who, in the past half-month, had neither cultivated his body, nor breathed in mana, nor tempered his Tao heart, but had been silently studying talismans. The reason why he put most of his energy on talismans was partly because he had seen a woman's talisman and became very interested in talismans. On the other hand, it was because his body, mana, and Tao heart had all reached their limits and did not need to spend time cultivating them. He also had absolute confidence in passing the foundation establishment qualification certificate. Ye Lingxiao was considered to have the most perfect body and the most perfect bloodline among all high school students in the entire Kongshu's first layer. This was both his self-awareness and the evaluation made by the Oasis group. And the talisman he was practicing now was a red envelope talisman that a woman had guided him to learn. Only by mastering this red envelope talisman could he learn the advanced goodwill talisman. Just as he was focusing on practicing seriously, a figure suddenly came to his side and said to him, I've picked up all your red envelopes. Ye Lingxiao raised his head, looked at Zhang Yu in front of him, and asked in confusion, HMM. Zhang Yu said, are you scattering money? Why don't you just transfer it to my bank account? Ye Ling Xiao shook his head and said, I'm practicing the red envelope talisman, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to break through. The red envelope only has a maximum of 1,000 yuan. Zhang Yu looked at Ye Ling Xiao in front of him with shining eyes, thinking that this is the top rich second generation in Kongshu. Practicing talismans is done by scattering money like this. What Yu Xing'an, Song Hailong, me and this good brother whose name I don't even know are the real friends. Jiang Yu quickly patted his chest and said, it's okay, you can use me to practice as you like. Yu Xing'an, who was on the side, was a little admired when he saw this scene. It seems I was wrong. Zhang Yu's way of getting money has long been perfect, not below me. Saying that, Yu Xing'an had already walked up with a smile on you. Who is this good friend? Why don't you introduce him? I heard you want to practice talismans. Use me to practice. Ye Ling Xiao looked at the two people in front of him strangely, and asked, are you sure? Zhang Yu sure. Yu Xing'an tried hard to push Zhang Yu away, and whispered to him, you just picked up several thousand yuan. It's my turn now. Ye Ling Xiao said lightly, you two are really strange, no one has ever been willing to take my red envelope talisman, you are actually rushing to take it, don't you think the interest rate is too high? Hearing the amazing word interest rate, Yu Xing'an's movements gradually slowed down. Zhang Yu asked in confusion, interest rate? Ye Ling Xiao said, the red envelope talisman is the pre-talisman of the goodwill talisman. Those who receive this talisman take your reserve funds in the treasury bank. You motherfucker. Zhang Yu said angrily, why are you throwing this broken thing around? Do you have any public morals? Practicing such vicious things in public? What if it hits a poor person? Huh. Can you still see poor people here? Ye Ling Xiao said in surprise, I thought everyone wouldn't pick up money on the ground. Zhang Yu was angry, he felt that he had been insulted by the other party again. Bai Zhenzhen reminded from the side, Yuzi, pay back the money quickly. If you're late, there will be interest. Jiang Yu quickly walked to the side, turned on his phone, and logged in, and immediately went to the Treasury Bank website to pay back the money. And with Ye Ling Xiao's words just now, the candidates who hadn't cared much before were now silently moving away from Ye Ling Xiao, making a large circle around Ye Ling Xiao instantly. Ye Ling Xiao continued to draw talismans indifferently, and soon another red envelope jumped out and landed on the ground around him. But just then, a palm gently pinched the red envelope, but no matter how hard the palm used, how much it rubbed, the red envelope did not disappear. This time, Ye Ling Xiao's eyes showed surprise. The red envelope, talisman, is ineffective against you? Ye Ling Xiao looked at the person who had received his red envelope, talisman and scathed. The newcomer was a slender man who looked quite thin. Apart from his thinness, the most striking feature of the man was his eyes, which were as bright as stars, as if countless stars were churning within them. Zhang Yu, who was standing to the side, had a sudden thought when he saw this scene. This is a divine eye implant? Divine eye implant. He remembered the first time he saw one of these things was on a foundation establishment, expert, like the director of the Xiong City, Immortal, Rhyme branch. At that time, Zhao Tianxing told him that a divine eye implant required at least 100 points of mana to implant. Zhang Yu hadn't seen any high school students with divine eye implants before. Just then, Ye Ling Xiao asked, Yunjing, why is my red envelope talisman ineffective against you? The man before him, who was abnormally thin and had divine eye implants in his eyes, was named Yunjing. As the top student of the strongest high school in Immortal Capital City, Immortal Cloud High School, a favored son of the heavens living in the first level of Kongshu, Yunjing had already defeated the entire Immortal Cloud High School and was even invincible in the entire Immortal Capital City high school world. The strongest high school student in the first level of Kongshu. Was this his self-perception? No. This was the objective assessment made by Xian Pharmaceuticals Kongshu's first level headquarters, after testing Yunjing. Hearing Ye Ling Xiao's question, Yunjing smiled faintly and said, because I have a defense against fraud, talisman on me. Your red envelope talisman crashing into me, is like a moth flying into a flame, completely useless. He stretched out his hands and laughed loudly, in other words, I am now immune to this type of talisman. At that moment, everyone felt as if Yunjing waved his hand, and a long river of divine power crossed over, defending him against all kinds of harassment, traps, and scams. Ye Ling Xiao nodded slightly, the red envelope talisman is still too limited. Only the favorability talisman is truly unstoppable. Yunjing shook his head and said, the favorability talisman is unstoppable for true gods, but useless against people. Ye Lingxiao shook his head, but did not speak. But in his heart, he secretly thought the favorability talisman can work on people. I once saw someone use it like that. After seeing that scene, Ye Lingxiao vaguely realized that it might contain a big secret. This secret made him very curious, and at the same time, he felt a trace of shock, which made him want to study talismans even more. But in Ye Lingxiao's opinion, he didn't plan to tell Yunjing and other such important and valuable information for free. Currently, high school students from immortal capital city like Ye, Lingxiao, and Yunjing were standing together, accounting for 90% of the total. Students from other cities, such as Zhangyu, Bai Zhenzhen, and Yuxingen, were standing in the distance in small groups, far fewer in number than the immortal capital city students. Zhangyu sighed, the immortal capital city guys really have good conditions. Could it be that they've swept the foundation establishment exams in previous years? Yuxingen nodded slightly. I heard that the best high schools here can invite the heads of various companies to give them lectures. The teachers for Taoist arts classes are true gods, and each student can have a yellow turban warrior to practice with. Zhang Yu was shocked. The gap in immortal Tao education resources was too big. Bai Zhenzhen, who was standing to the side, was also full of envy. The immortal capital city guys were just more awesome than the Songyang people. Just then, the metal door in front of everyone shook violently, and lines of text appeared on the light screen to the side. Zhang Yu looked over and found that it was the rules for the next test. In short, the metal door in front of them needed to simultaneously meet 3 requirements: physical strength, mana, and martial arts, in order to be opened. In terms of physical strength, they needed to have enough power to push the metal door. In terms of martial arts and mana, they needed to strike 9 different positions on the metal door with 9 different palm techniques in a specific order within 3 seconds. Only then could they push open the metal door, enter it, and complete the Tao Heart test. In other words, as long as they pushed open the metal door and passed the Tao Heart test inside, they would have truly completed this registration and be qualified to participate in the foundation establishment exam. Zhang Yu thought to himself, the specific content of these 9 palm techniques, as well as the order in which they are struck, are like a set of passwords. Only by answering correctly can you open the door. According to what it says on the wall, this password will change every time the door is opened. Just as Zhang Yu was still looking at how to condense the 9 palm techniques, he noticed that the words on the wall changed, and the order and content of the 9 palm techniques changed. At the same time, a time of 0.64 seconds was displayed above the metal door. With a creaking sound, the metal door was suddenly pushed open by Yunjing, revealing a bottomless darkness. Yunjing took a step forward without any concern, and with the metal door closing again, he disappeared into the darkness in an instant. After Yunjing left, Ye Lingxiao's figure flashed like lightning. Jiang Yu couldn't even see all his movements clearly. 9 loud sounds were connected together, as if there was only one collision sound. A time of 0.65 seconds was displayed above the metal door. The next moment, Ye Lingxiao was already standing in front of the door, easily pushing the metal door open. Zhang Yu thought, less than a second to complete the bombardment of 9 palm techniques. And that might not even be their full strength. Watching Yunjing and Ye Lingxiao push open the metal door one after another, Zhang Yu felt an unprecedented pressure in his heart. These 2 should be second-year students, who are about to enter their 3rd year, right? They've been cultivating for a year longer than me, and they're already so much stronger. Is this the strongest level of high school students, in the first level of Kongshu? Zhang Yu clearly realized that at this moment he was far inferior to these 2 people. If he wanted to pass the foundation establishment qualification certificate, then he needed to catch up to the level of these 2 in the future. Bai Zhenzhen, who was standing next to him, also took a deep breath, feeling the spiritual roots in her body stirring. They're so strong, Bai Zhenzhen thought to herself, can I really pass the foundation establishment certificate this year? Although she had been cheering herself up in her heart, and had been trying her best to cultivate. But now that she had really come to immortal capital city, whether it was the huge floating city, the prices in the train station, or the performance of these immortal capital city guys in front of her, it was like punch after punch, slowly pressing down Bai Zhenzhen straight back, making her feel the gap between her and the people here little by little. To the point that Bai Zhenzhen couldn't help but have a trace of escapist thoughts in her heart, it doesn't matter, if I lose this year, there will be another chance next year, right? But the next moment, she immediately suppressed this distracting thought and thought to herself, no matter what, I'll try my best. Xiong, who was standing to the side, also felt the pressure, but he didn't feel as much pressure in his heart as Xiong, Yu, and Bai Zhenjin. He thought to himself, this time, I'll just come to experience the atmosphere of the Foundation Establishment exam in advance and take the opportunity to reimburse some expenses. My real opportunity is next year. In the following time, the contestants went up one by one and opened the door one after another. Zhang Yu wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he stayed in place to observe these guys who might become his opponents. Most of them should be second-year students. Except for the two guys at the beginning, who solved it in less than 1 second, most of the rest solved it in less than 2 seconds. The rest who are weaker than me must be first-year students. They basically open the metal door into 2 for seconds. The latest novel is first published on 6ix9ine Book Bar. The contestants who took more than 3 seconds to open the door failed to meet the test requirements and were directly sent away by the sudden appearance of a big hole under their feet. Obviously, they were all eliminated. Seeing that no one was going up for the time being, Zhang Yu walked up, looking at the 9 palm techniques recorded on the wall, and slapped the metal door one palm after another. With his super mana control and physical control, he circled in front of the metal door like a gust of wind, spending 2.3 seconds to slap the 9 palm techniques on the 9 different positions of the metal door respectively. Then he stood in front of the metal door, and with a hard push with both hands, he completely pushed open the metal door and stepped into the darkness. From the darkness, there seemed to be countless roars of beasts and monsters. The next moment, with a burst of fire, hundreds of monsters rushed up. Zombies, fox demons, ghosts rushed together, as if to tear Zhang Yu into pieces. However, when Zhang Yu mustered up the courage to fight the monsters, he found that the other side was vulnerable. Soon, he killed 3 in and 3 out, pushed open the exit door at the end of the passage, and found himself back in the toilet cubicle of the train station. The final Dao Heart test is courage? Zhang Yu opened his phone, logged into the registration website, and confirmed that he had successfully registered and passed the test. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. It's just that between his confused head, he always felt like he had ignored something. But just as he was about to think about it, he had already forgotten about it. Zhang Yu shook his head, and as soon as he walked out of the toilet door, he was knocked unconscious by a palm. At the same time, in the office where Zhang Yu had just registered, the middle-aged woman who helped Zhang Yu register was sitting behind the desk. In the 4 light screens on the side were the figures of 4 other people. The middle-aged woman's name was Deng Bingding. Although as a Sifang wandering god, she was already a 6th rank god, a big figure compared to the 9th rank Gong Chao Xiaoshin. But Deng Bingding had never felt anything to be proud of in her heart. Everyone thinks it's good to be a god, and that divine power is great, but what if you really become a god? Deng Bingding had been to the heavenly court. She knew how high the steps there were, how far she was from the great gods of each department, how small her authority was in this Kongshu, and even more understood that in the eyes of the immortals, she was just a useful tool. Just like at this moment, because of a sudden order from her superiors, she could only slow down the things she was originally doing and devote a lot of energy and divine power to participate in the temporary overtime work of the Foundation Establishment exam, maintaining order in the examination room, and protecting students' information from being leaked. Taking a look at the other 4 figures in the light screen, those were the 4 little gods who were sent to assist her this time. Deng Bingding said, this reform of the Foundation Establishment exam is an oral instruction from the upper, immortal, and an approval from the Divine Monarch. I will have to trouble everyone to keep an eye on it. Where, we will all listen to your orders, Lord Deng. With a burst of greetings, Deng Bingding had already received the favorability talismans sent by the 4 little gods. Lower-level gods sending favorability talismans to upper-level gods to increase goodwill was originally the behavior of individual gods, but now it has unknowingly spread widely throughout the Kongshu divine realm. Deng Bingding was quite disdainful of this and even deeply disgusted with these red tapes. She looked at the amounts sent by the 4 little gods, and her brows furrowed. She thought, the others are all more than 10,000, but you sent me 5,000. What do you mean? Deng Bingding immediately remembered the little god, with the smallest amount of favorability, talisman. Huangziku. A good favorability talisman was directly turned into an aversion talisman by you. You're really a talent. No wonder you're still a 9th rank god. Deng Dingding sighed in her heart, so she hated these red tapes. Before superiors and subordinates had even cooperated in their work, they had directly soured the relationship. How could they properly handle affairs for the great gods? She still missed the days when she could say numbers and transfer money face to face without anyone investigating. She pinched a Taoist seal with her hand, and with a surge of divine power, light screens appeared in front of her, showing the encounters of each student after entering the metal door. Deng Dingding said faintly, "The 4 of you also know that there are so many mouths up and down the 8 departments, and life has not been easy. This sudden addition of a registration test this year is, on the one hand, to use the screening of mana, physical strength, and martial arts to screen out some first-year students and save a bit of budget for the exam. On the other hand, the focus of the above is to use the Tao Heart test to leave behind truly usable talents and sweep away the goods that climb up and become soft-footed shrimps." At this very moment, Deng Dingding and the other 4 minor deities were watching the performance of the candidates in the Tao Heart test. "The 4 of you have come this far, having experienced countless large and small assessments. You should know that the most important point in any exam is to understand the examiner's intentions and the main purpose of the exam. This is the same for us now as examiners. Only by understanding the intentions of those above can we select talented individuals who will serve the 10 great sects and the heavenly court in the future." Deng Dingding continued, "Those soft-legged shrimps selected in recent years have greatly dissatisfied those above, and the results of various assessments have been declining year after year. This reform aims to select people who climb up from the lower levels of Kongshu, people who have ambition, desire, courage, and can withstand temptation and pressure, so that they can go further on the path of immortality. Among these, resisting temptation is the key to this round of testing." Looking at the candidates on the screen, Deng Dingding continued, "For example, in the illusion of this Tao Heart test, rich people face the temptation of even more money. If one level of temptation is not enough, then there is temptation from the second level. It can be said that among these people, whoever is finally admitted to the foundation establishment certificate will definitely experience similar things in the end. So, you should understand our scoring criteria. One of the key points is how much monetary temptation the candidates resist. If there are particularly outstanding candidates, reporting them will also be a meritorious achievement." Just as Deng Dingding slowly finished speaking, the meritorious service minor deity Huang Ziku looked at Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin in the illusion and said in surprise, "There are actually 2 poor students in this exam." The other minor deities also looked over when they heard the word poor people. After all, it was a rare thing to see poor people in this foundation establishment exam. Deng Dingding also looked over and discovered that it was the student she had registered before. She remembered that the other party was named Xiong Yu and was a high school student from Songyang. Debts of 700,000, bank savings in the 5-figure range, an aunt. And this was Deng Dingding's evaluation of Zhang Yu. This was not a derogatory term, but rather stemmed from an evaluation system in her mind. Just as gods have 9 ranks and the immortal Tao has 10 realms, in Deng Dingding's view, people can naturally be divided into different levels. Those without even a high school education are dust. Those with a high school education and savings that are only in the 5 or 6-figure range are ants. Those who graduate from high school are at the peak of key refining and can find a job are cattle and horses. Only those who graduate from university and can find a company job are barely considered people in Deng Dingding's eyes. Looking at Zhang Yu's savings at this moment, Deng Dingding had already labeled him as a failure. This was not because Deng Dingding discriminated against poor people, but based on her years of experience as a god. Although rich people have surpassed poor people in all aspects such as magic power, physical body, martial arts, and spells, they often win in Tao Heart. This was Deng Dingding's experience. From the performance in various exams and tests she had seen, poor people were inferior to rich people in all aspects. Even if a very few poor people climbed up, the biggest characteristic was often that they were cheap to buy off, wanted the least money, and worked the most overtime. On the other hand, rich people receive training and tempering from a young age, so the richer they are, the stronger they are, the more pressure they can withstand, the higher their vision, the stronger their ambition, and the more they can resist temptation. They are the immortal cultivators that those above need most. As for Ansai, why cultivate immortality if you don't have money? If the company hadn't controlled the public opinion channels and desperately tricked people into joining the rat race, they wouldn't have been suitable for cultivating immortality in the first place. Just then, Zhang Yu in the light curtain had woken up. The air he breathed was very fresh. With every breath, it was as if countless small hands were massaging his body, nourishing every inch of his flesh. He found himself lying on a very soft bed, feeling an unspeakable relaxation all over his body. He looked around and found himself in a room with particularly good sunlight, surrounded by all kinds of furniture that looked very valuable, but he didn't know how to use. Outside the huge floor-to-ceiling windows was a rolling sea of clouds. Jiang Yu took a step forward and found that there were forests and lakes in the sea of clouds. There was even a giant dragon spewing clouds and mist soaring into the sky from the sea of clouds. The sea of clouds was surrounded by dense skyscrapers and pavilions that stretched as far as the eye could see. Huang Ziku said, the rich people in the illusion said they admired him and wanted to entertain him. Well, he refused. It's always like this at the beginning. They are very wary and decisive. Another minor deity analyzed, although they can't detect that it's an illusion with their cultivation and Tao heart, they will definitely be very wary of suddenly being kidnapped to a rich man's house and facing this kind of thing. Huang Ziku said, but this house has free spiritual veins, elixirs, and food supplements to use. These poor people will definitely stay and take advantage of it. Huh. He actually took the initiative to lower the spiritual energy concentration? Another minor deity also said in surprise, he doesn't eat the dragon meat that has food supplements and takes the initiative to order synthetic food. What is this poor man thinking? In the illusion, Zhang Yu didn't even look at the large table of delicacies in front of him. Especially after the servant next to him introduced that almost all the dishes on the table were made from various powerful demon, beasts, and even fled dragons. This made Zhang Yu even more afraid to eat. He only asked people to get him some synthetic food so that he could eat with peace of mind and reassurance. Zhang Yu was afraid that after he ate it, they would ask for money and bankrupt him. After all, he only had more than 10,000 yuan in his pocket, but he was staying in the upper city of Immortal Metropolis. How did this feel? It was like appearing in the enemy's jungle with a sliver of health. He only felt that every step was frightening, and he might go bankrupt if he was not careful. Thinking of this, he immediately asked people to lower the spiritual energy as much as possible and turn it off, if possible. Listening to the discussions of the surrounding minor deities, Deng Bingding said, you guys, you usually come into contact with too many rich people and know too little about these bottom-level poor people. He is just scared. He is afraid that if he takes one more breath or eats one more piece of meat, he will go bankrupt if he has to pay for it. Go bankrupt if you take one more breath or eat one more piece of meat. The meritorious service minor deities who heard this were slightly stunned. It had indeed been a long time since they had seen this kind of thing. After all, people who are so poor are generally not worthy of communicating with them, nor are they worthy of appearing in such a high consumption place. Deng Bingding continued, but this is only temporary. The poorer people are like this, the easier it is to fall once they start to satisfy their desires. A long time ago, a poor farmer climbed to the second level. He was reluctant to eat, reluctant to wear, didn't dare to buy this, and didn't dare to use that. In the end, a city citizen status on the second level made him lose his determination to continue moving forward on the path of immortality. There is no way, the lives of these poor people are too cheap and too easy to satisfy. It is much easier to stop them from continuing to climb up than to stop rich people. At the same time, Zhang Yu in the light curtain encountered more temptations. In the illusion, the pharmacy had all kinds of top-quality elixirs that could be taken openly. The spiritual root room had 3 kinds of heavenly spiritual routes for cultivation, saying that Zhang Yu could use them at will. The training room had a yellow turban warrior that could be used as a sparring partner. The 12 flying swords next to it were the same, saying that he could play with them at will. Zhang Yu took a deep breath and tried to suppress the surging desires. In the office, the minor deity Huang Ziku sighed, he can't hold back anymore. During these few days in the illusion, he has been repeatedly confirming whether it is really free. Once he confirms that it is really free, he will definitely can't help but start using these cultivation resources. The latest novel is first published on Li9 SHB Well, both parties are going to sign a contract to confirm that he can use all the things for free for 2 months. Just as Huang Ziku spoke, he saw Zhang Yu and the illusion had already turned up the spiritual energy concentration in the room. In the illusion. Another day passed, and Zhang Yu took a bite of a dragon chop, feeling the juice explode in his mouth, gradually revealing a satisfied smile. He grabbed the syringe next to him, and stabbed it into his arm. Then he asked people to continue to increase the spiritual energy concentration. In the office. Looking at Zhang Yu's performance in the illusion, the minor deities present sighed. He is too easy to be bought off. Huang Ziku said, doesn't he know that free is the most expensive? Once he gets deeper and deeper, he will never be able to leave these things. Deng Bingding, who was on the side, did not speak. In her opinion, this kind of thing was too normal. This kind of end-level poor people had too shallow a vision, and were so easy to fall into temptation. Watching the illusion time in the light curtain pass day by day, watching Zhang Yu eat meat more and more fiercely, inject medicine more and more fiercely, and play with various flying swords and spiritual roots with relish, Deng Bingding knew that he had completely fallen. Just then, Huang Ziku, who was on the side, said in surprise, "Hey, this kid is actually not sterilized yet? Isn't this making it more difficult for himself?" In the illusion. Zhang Yu walked into the cauldron room that he had not yet visited. He saw 6 charming women, some petite, some plump, some slender, and some with demon beast characteristics. These female bodies, with different styles, all looked at Zhang Yu at the same time. The girl on the side introduced, her name is Ling Lu. After she has been modified, she can drive your whole body's muscles to complete body refining movements during your use. This is Yunshiro. She can receive and absorb the medicine poison in your body and help you eliminate the side effects of taking medicine. This is Xian Luo. She can secrete sedative hormones and relieve your psychological pressure through caressing and licking. Master, as long as you agree to withdraw from the foundation establishment exam, we will all be your property in the future. Hearing that he was going to give up the foundation establishment qualification certificate, Zhang Yu seemed to have imagined the familiar chill and the power of the ritual, and quickly waved his hand and refused, "Get out, get out, get out. Don't mess with my Dao heart. I will never give up the foundation establishment qualification certificate, even if I die." In the office. Huang Ziku said in surprise, "I can understand refusing, but he actually refused so decisively. To have such strong vitality and fiery energy as a high school student, and with no castration, he's at the peak of his desires. To think he could so readily refuse an opportunity to grow stronger, while having fun." Another minor god beside him said, "I know. Is he perhaps a eunuch by birth? Is that why he doesn't need castration? Or maybe he simply doesn't like women, which is why he could refuse so decisively." Huang Ziku waved his hand grandly and said, "That's easy enough. Arrange 10 handsome male cultivation partners for him, and we'll soon find out." Listening to Nova. In the illusion. 10 handsome men with different temperaments, sizes, and unique strengths appeared before Zhang Yu. With just a glance, one could tell that each of them was the cream of the crop, possessing unique skills. But feeling the meaningful gazes of these 10 men, watching them approach step by step, Zhang Yu felt even more terror and despair than facing 10 Song Heilongs on the arena. "Get out. Don't come over here." At this moment, Zhang Yu was filled with fear and rage. He never expected that Kongxu would use such methods to humiliate him and force him to give up the foundation establishment exam. Damn it, I also want to give up. It's okay to take the exam next year. But as soon as this thought arose in his mind, Zhang Yu felt that chill again, and he knew that the ritual would not allow him to give up. Inside the office. Huang Ziku frowned and said, "We don't want women, and we don't want men. Could it be that he wants?" Deng Bingding on the side said indifferently, "It's normal to have no interest in romance. Some people just prefer money, power. But as long as they are intelligent people, there is always a price, their own weaknesses, and their own soft spots. Generally, it's quite easy to find these in poor people." Saying that, Deng Bingding casually pointed and said, "Huang Ziku, you will be solely responsible for the 2 poor people, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. Eliminate them as soon as possible, so as not to waste the budget." Huang Ziku was slightly stunned and quickly said, No." In his opinion, these 2 poor ghosts obviously couldn't achieve any results. Wouldn't it be doing the most useless thing to be solely responsible for their Dao heart test during this test? But Deng Bingding didn't give Huang Ziku a chance to object and waved his hand to stop him from speaking. Everyone is working overtime temporarily this time. Time is tight, and the task is heavy. If you have any complaints, we'll talk about it later. Deng Bingding instructed again. Remember, keep an eye on the illusion. Don't let the price increase blindly in the illusion. The key is to find the other party's weaknesses and spend the money wisely. Otherwise, indiscriminate spending will lead to overvaluation. If any of you are criticized during the foundation establishment exam review, don't blame me for not reminding you. Everyone present knew that the process of this foundation establishment exam would be reviewed. If they randomly evaluated the students, they would be criticized. On the other side, Huang Ziku thought to himself, alas, isn't this giving me the worst job in this project? Is Master Deng deliberately making things difficult for me? Although Deng Bingding seemed to casually assign him to do this, he knew how could a 6th-rank god casually point? Impossible. I stuffed 5,000 yuan into her favorite talisman. The four of us agreed before we came to use a 3,000 yuan favor talisman. I've already added 2,000. He couldn't help but look at the 3 colleagues next to him, but found that the 3 small meritorious gods were all working earnestly and attentively, with no intention of speaking. With a hint of depression, Huang Ziku could only turn his attention to Zhang, Yu, and Bai Zhenjin, secretly cursing his bad luck. What exam are these 2 poor ghosts taking? Quickly help them finish the test. I might as well go and test some other good students. Just as Huang Ziku wanted to hurry up and eliminate Zhang, Yu, and Bai Zhenjin. In each of the light screens, students had gradually begun to surrender in the Tao Heart test. With a sweep of divine power, Deng Bingding recorded the things that each student received when surrendering, according to their respective valuations. 400 million to withdraw. 600 million to withdraw. 320 million to withdraw. Seeing these numbers of hundreds of millions at every turn, Deng Bingding also sighed slightly. In his heart, after all, it's an illusion. No one in reality would offer so much just to get them to withdraw. The illusion also makes them subconsciously ignore many strange things, just to test the limits in their hearts. The numbers recorded by Deng Bingding varied, only because everyone's background, strength, and wealth were different, and the temptations they faced were also different. The time spent in the illusion was very long, and it did not necessarily mean that they were more highly valued than others. Among them, personal wealth had a great influence, which Deng Bingding thought was normal. After all, wealth has always been one of the most important sources of immortal potential and immortal determination. Among them, high school students often performed a little worse than high school seniors because they had two chances to take the foundation establishment exam, which was the same as the difference between high school freshmen and high school seniors in Dao heart, mana, and physical strength. In the next moment, as Deng Bingding's gaze moved, he had already seen Yu Xing'an's illusion. Inside the illusion. This is Xianyun High School in Xiandu City. What do you think of the environment? In order to build this school, the group specially relocated the entire spiritual vein, just to give the high school students the best learning environment. Here is the admission application. As long as you agree, you can study here in the future. Yu Xing'an took a deep breath of the air at Xianyun High School, only to feel that it was the best air he had ever smelled in his life. But after hearing what the other party said, he gritted his teeth but chose to refuse. What about the Xiandu City citizenship? Don't you want to live here? What about a formal job at Oasis Group? This is something that many people dream of and struggle for a lifetime to get. Yu Xing'an refused one request after another, not because he wasn't tempted or didn't want it. But his rich experience in asking for money told him that now was not the other party's bottom price, and he could ask for more. Until the other party said a sentence that truly shook his mind. We can pay to buy you back from true person Xinghe. Hearing these words, Yu Xing'an's expression clearly changed. We can pay to help you transfer the contract with true person Xinghe to Oasis Group. The treatment in the new contract will be better and more relaxed, and you will gain true freedom. This is the highest offer. If you don't accept this, then there's nothing to talk about. Yu Xing'an didn't know if this was the other party's highest offer. But he knew that this was a life buoy floating in front of him. On this vast, dark sea, it was the first life buoy he had encountered. If he chose to let go, perhaps he would never have such an opportunity in his life. So he didn't hesitate to reach out, and grabbed the opportunity in front of him. Yuxing and my penalty for breach of contract is very high. Everything in this world has a price, and the penalty for breach of contract is not without a limit. The other party smiled. You're just at the key refining stage now. Honestly, how much are you worth in real person Xinghuo's eyes? Inside the office. Deng Lingding watched Wu Xing'en's rapid defeat, thinking to herself, once the true flaw in your heart is probed out, this barrage of attacks will lead to a complete collapse. According to the data, real person Xinghe has probably invested about 80 million in this Wu Xing'en so far. Considering real person Xinghuo's situation, it's estimated that he'll want more than 10 times the price to transfer the contract, plus other additional conditions. So, the final valuation is 1.3 billion. Given real person Xinghuo's appetite, making so much money from transferring a key refining disciple and then finding another disciple to cultivate is indeed about right. Of course, Deng Lingding knew that these were just estimates based on the data from the mainframe god. If such a thing really happened, the price would definitely be different, but it was enough for evaluation in this test. Deng Lingding thought to herself, I didn't expect this student, from Songyang, to be quite resilient. But ultimately, his weakness is very obvious. Made by the golden core, ruined by the golden core. Real person Xinghe can make him, and he can also destroy him. The latest novels are available first on 69shu.com. Especially as real person Xinghe invests more and more money in him in the future, the constraints on him will inevitably increase. This is the biggest flaw in his Dao heart, and it will inevitably become a huge obstacle on the immortal path in the future. After casually recording the situations of Yu Xing'en and the next few students, she curiously looked at the other two students from Songyang City. Those two poor people haven't been recruited yet? Deng Lingding was a little surprised, so she glanced over. Inside the illusion. Bai Zhenzhen suffered temptations similar to Zhang Yu's. But because of the sterilization surgery, the illusion didn't arrange various temptations of the flesh for her. Living in the most central house with 1.5 floors, enjoying the most luxurious cultivation conditions, Bai Zhenzhen already felt herself becoming increasingly difficult to resist. And Huang Ziku, who was controlling the illusion from the outside, also clearly felt Bai Zhenzhen's temptation. So, in the illusion, the price slowly stopped rising, and even indicated that Bai Zhenzhen's asking price was too high, and that negotiations should be terminated. After some back and forth, Bai Zhenzhen took the initiative to make a final request. The conditions you're offering me, I want to offer the same to Zhang Yu. Ever since she started preparing for the foundation establishment exam, Bai Zhenzhen had always had a fear in her heart, a fear that she often deliberately ignored, and often didn't dare to think about. That is, if Zhang Yu failed the foundation establishment exam in the end, failing the first time, failing the second time, and ultimately failing to get into the top 10. What would happen? There was once an opportunity to enter the Heavenly Pride class of the Myriad Dharma University, which Zhang Pian placed before Zhang Yu. If he chose to stay with her, but ultimately failed to get into the top 10. If that were the case, would Zhang Yu regret it? If that's the case, how should I face Yuzi? She could only tell herself that it wouldn't happen. With Yuzi's performance, plus her true spirit root, she would definitely pass the foundation establishment exam. However, after seeing the performances of Yeling Xiao, Yongjing, and others in the foundation establishment test, Bai Zhenzhen once again had doubts about whether she could pass the foundation establishment exam. And now, as long as she sacrificed one of her exam opportunities, she could help herself and Zhang Yu win a large amount of immortal resources, greatly increasing the chance of passing the foundation establishment exam. This seemed to be the most rational and profit-maximizing decision. I can give up the foundation establishment exam, but the conditions you promised are not just for me, but also for Zhang Yu, and Zhang Yu doesn't have to withdraw from the foundation establishment exam. Inside the office. Huang Ziku, who was observing the illusion, frowned, with a strange expression on his face. It's actually a friend. This kind of request. It couldn't be said that this kind of request never appeared in illusions, but in Huang Zishu's view, it was indeed very, very rare. After all, in most people's illusions, it was enough to constantly satisfy their own desires, and very few people would think of others. If he met this kind of person in reality, Huang Ziku would only curse them as fools in his heart. But looking at Bai Zhenzhen, in the illusion at this moment, Huang Ziku thought to himself that fools have foolish luck. Deng Bingding glanced at the final result, and recorded by Zhenjin, final valuation of 600 million, multiplied by 2. 1.2 billion. I didn't expect a student from Songyang City to reach this number. It's already much higher than many high school freshmen in Xi'an do. It's indeed rare for her to persevere to this extent with her background. If she can catch up with the students in Xi'an in other aspects next year, she may well be an excellent foundation establishment seed. Next, as Deng Bingding observed, more and more students finished the Dao Heart test. Unconsciously, only the last 3 people remained. Among them, Ye Lingxiao and Yongjing were not beyond her expectations, but only Zhang Yu's persistence made her unable to understand. Just then, Yunjing also finished the Dao Heart test. Inside the illusion, Yunjing looked at the contract in front of him, a trace of regret appearing in his eyes. The Yun family, which looked incomparably glorious, had actually been declining in recent years. Especially with the reform of body refinement technology, the Yin family failed to keep up due to investment mistakes, and because of the failure in the internal struggle within the company, this decline became even more obvious. Although the assets were still incomparably huge, the liquid funds were becoming increasingly stretched. And after signing this contract, the Yin family would have these liquid funds, which would surely be able to revive them. The price was that he gave up his high school foundation establishment qualification certificate. But it doesn't matter. Even without the high school foundation establishment qualification certificate, I can still get into the top 10. And as long as the Yin family returns to its peak, more Yun family descendants will definitely be able to get the foundation establishment qualification certificate in the future. In the office. As long as it's a person, there must be a price, a weakness, a soft spot. Deng Bingding's mind was filled with the words she had always said. This Yanjing has been receiving family education since he was a child, but he has unparalleled loyalty and gratitude to the family. HMPH, this kind of feeling is good for the family, but it's just an obstacle on the immortal path. Not self-centered enough, not selfish enough, how can one bravely climb to the peak on the immortal path? Deng Bingding shook her head and recorded the other party's valuation. Yanjing, valuation of 5 billion. Inside the office. Just after Deng Bingding recorded Yunjing's valuation, a minor deity beside him said, Lord Deng, Ye Lingxiao is proving to be troublesome. Deng Bingding looked over and saw that Ye Lingxiao in the illusion seemed unmoved by any temptation. Whether it was superior cultivation conditions, the success or failure of his family, nothing seemed to deter him from obtaining the foundation establishment qualification certificate for high school. If Deng Bingding were to evaluate him, it would be that he was selfish enough, single-minded enough, and had the courage to constantly climb the path of immortality. But Deng Bingding also believed that as long as the price kept increasing, the other party would definitely agree. After all, everyone has a price. However, the things Ye Lingxiao asked for were beyond Deng Bingding's expectations. Ye Lingxiao in the illusion said, since you are so powerful, do you know how to use the charm talisman on people? Deng Bingding frowned. How could Ye Lingxiao know about this? The minor deity beside him said, Lord Deng, what should we do now? The secret of using the charm talisman on people is of great importance and cannot be easily revealed. Although it's just an illusion, we can casually deceive him. But the foundation establishment examination's illusion retains all memories and records. In this case, if the valuation is too low, wouldn't it be deliberately giving the student a low score? If the valuation is too high, wouldn't it let Ye Lingxiao know that there is a big secret here? This is really difficult to handle. Deng Bingding felt a wave of trouble after hearing this, and she realized something. The fact that this person can make such a request amidst so many temptations in the illusion shows that he subconsciously thinks that the value of this secret is very high, and even realizes what it represents. HMPH, but this Ye Lingxiao's curiosity is too strong, and his appetite is too big. But selfishness, audacity, and greed are also qualities of an immortal seed. With a thought, Deng Bingding decided to take a different approach and asked, where did he hear about this? Is it just hearsay, or did he actually see it? The minor deity said he saw it with his own eyes, that a high school student named Zhang Pianpian used it. I have already looked at that student's information. She is very good, but she doesn't seem like someone who would use this trick. Could it be that she is deceiving Ye Lingxiao? Deng Bingding closed her eyes, and countless scenes of the spirit realm appeared before her. She came to a row of huge bookshelves, casually opened Xiong Pianpian's data, and her divine power quickly scanned it. The other party's life history appeared before her. This is the archive library on the first floor of the Department of All People, which theoretically records the information of everyone on the first floor. Deng Bingding quickly read Xiong Pianpian's information with divine power, but felt a strange feeling in her heart. This Xiong Pianpian is indeed excellent, and she is also the deputy captain of the Songyang City Patrol team. She is even a little too excellent. It's Songyang City again. Deng Bingding frowned and said, "Why are the students in Songyang City a little strange one by one?" Just as she was thinking, this sixth-rank quadrant wandering deity suddenly noticed something was wrong. Xiong Pianpian's file, someone has tampered with it. The thought that someone had tampered with the archive startled Deng Bingding. When she tried to uncover the truth hidden behind the other party's file, an unprecedented sense of crisis stopped her. "It's none of my business, I don't want to know anything." After thinking about it, she went straight back and reported Ling Xiao's situation. As for Xiong Pianpian's intelligence problem, she didn't mention it at all, pretending she didn't know. What surprised her even more was the speed of the response from above. A written instruction directly from the Department of All People? Deng Bingding's heart skipped a beat, thinking that Xiong Pianpian really had a problem, and she didn't know what kind of plan or arrangement it involved from above. The instruction from the Department of All People was to directly suppress Ling Xiao's valuation to 5.5 billion. Deng Bingding felt some emotion in her heart as she watched this scene. Many Kongshu people, especially some poor people, think that the rules of the 10 great sects, the rules of the 8 divisions of gods, are heavenly laws, and no one can violate them. But Deng Bingding knew clearly sometimes that wasn't the case. Like the foundation establishment examination in front of her, it wasn't that no one dared to have crooked ideas from the beginning. It's just that those who dared to have crooked ideas, whether they were people or gods, were all sent to the spirit realm to enjoy themselves, and gradually no one dared to have ideas. But even with the high school foundation establishment examination, where no one in the entire Kongshu first layer dared to mess around, if the big shots above wanted to take action, like suppressing Ling Xiao's evaluation at this moment, then it would be done. People have a price, and the rules of Kongshu also have a price. As long as you can pay the price, many things can be done. It's just that for some people, this price is the entire clan. But for some people, it may only require a written instruction. Deng Bingding cleared the distracting thoughts in her heart, and firmly suppressed this matter deep in her heart, never thinking about it again. She turned her attention to the last person in the current Tao heart test, Zhang Yu. Or rather, at this moment in the office, whether it was she, the quadrant wandering deity, or the other for minor merit recording deities, all focused their attention on Zhang Yu's illusion. Deng Bingding wondered, this Zhang Yu actually held on until now. Huang Ziku was a little nervous and excited, and said, "Lord Deng, Zhang Yu's illusion is about to collapse if this continues." "What did you say?" With a strong sense of curiosity, Deng Bingding scanned with her divine power and checked the other party's illusion record. Inside the illusion, unknowingly, more and more things had piled up in front of Zhang Yu. What heavenly spirit roots, dharmic corpses, citizen status of immortal capital city. All kinds of valuable things were sent to Zhang Yu, but he always refused to give up the foundation establishment examination. Even when the other party threw out company shares, Zhang Yu's face was eager to try, but he still gritted his teeth and did not reject the foundation establishment examination. Because as soon as he had this idea, the chill in his heart would follow. Can't this idiotic ritual accept conditions, and let me take the test in the second year? No, although this ritual is idiotic, it shouldn't be like this. What's wrong? In the constant probing and increasing prices of the illusion, Zhang Yu's consciousness gradually felt something was wrong. Isn't this worth tens of billions? Are you giving too much? Is it really worth this price for me to give up the foundation establishment examination? When Zhang Yu began to think about these things, everything in front of him seemed to become more and more strange, giving him the feeling of dreaming. Inside the office, Deng Bingding frowned. How can it be open to such a high price? What are you doing? She had suspected that Huang Ziku was randomly increasing the price. The newest novel is first published in 6-9 books bar. Huang Ziku said, "Lord Deng, you can look at the records. I really didn't randomly increase the price. The illusion is operating according to the rules, increasing little by little. I really tried everything, but he just wouldn't give up." Deng Bingding frowned and repeatedly reviewed the records, and found that Zhang Yu was really impervious to persuasion. Deng Bingding knew that although the illusion could allow students to subconsciously ignore many strange things in it, this kind of ignorance was not without limits. When students constantly refuse, as the price given becomes higher and higher, the entire illusion will become more and more illogical, making the test taker feel more and more discordant. When this sense of incongruity reaches its limit, it also represents the collapse of the illusion. Like Yeling Xiao and Yinjing, because they were rich enough and strong enough and were candidates for winning the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate, the price rose all the way under the effect of the illusion, and the two could subconsciously ignore the sense of incongruity. But Zhang Yu's level was not a winning candidate at all, and he was poor himself, so as the price soared, it would be easier to feel something was wrong. Watching this scene, Deng Bingding suddenly had an idea that she had never had before. Poor people actually have an advantage in this test, that is, once they hold on, they are more likely to see through the illusion and break the limit than rich people. Shaking her head, temporarily putting aside the extra thoughts in her heart, Deng Bingding asked again, "Didn't you ask him what he wants?" Huang Ziku quickly said, "I asked you." Look back. Inside the illusion, Zhang Yu felt that everything in front of him was more and more like a dream. How could someone pay so much money to let himself give up the Foundation Establishment examination? Especially the reaction of the ritual made him feel that everything was very wrong. Could it be that I am now? At this moment, the other party's question interrupted his thinking. After listening, Zhang Yu curiously said, "What do I want?" Thinking that under the pressure of the ritual he was carrying, what he wanted most was to remove the power of the ritual and give himself true freedom. But he didn't dare to say anything about the evil god, even if he felt like he was dreaming at this moment, he didn't dare to say it. So what he could say was another purpose, that is, to enter the top 10, enter the sect, and complete this wish path. Combined with the current condition of giving up the Foundation Establishment examination, Zhang Yu slightly organized his words in his heart, and felt that the request he was about to make would be a request that the other party could not agree to at all. But that feeling of dreaming made him suddenly smile and say his thoughts somewhat presumptuously, "I want to climb the path of immortality and go all the way up. So if you want me to give up, then unless you can give me a better opportunity. An opportunity that is better than passing the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate the first time, a better opportunity to enter the university, a better treatment after entering the top 10, a better opportunity to enter the sect, I will give up the Foundation Establishment Qualification Certificate. By the way, this matter must also include by Zhenjin." Inside the office, everyone has a price. This was something that Deng Bingding had confirmed countless times. But this time, hearing Zhang Yu's asking price, even if it was an extreme price because of the illusion, Deng Bingding was still shocked. This guy, does he know what he's asking for? A poor ghost on the first floor of Kongshu actually asked for such an outrageous price? Is this something that can be encountered on the first floor? A treatment that is better than successfully passing the Foundation Establishment Certificate in the first year of high school? Not to mention the first floor, even the rich on the second, or even the third floor, may not be able to grab the opportunity he wants. And he has to bring someone. Looking at Zhang Yu in the illusion, Deng Bingding didn't know whether to say that the other party's ambition to climb the path of immortality was inflated enough, or that he released his greedy side under the influence of the illusion. Huang Ziku said, "Lord Deng, what do you say? With this kind of asking price, he himself knows it's impossible, right? He doesn't plan to give up the Foundation Establishment examination at all." Deng Bingding said, "There is no point in continuing to test. The temptation to him has already exceeded the limit of the temptation he may face. If the illusion really completes this unreasonable request, Zhang Yu will probably completely wake up from it, and the illusion will collapse." Or Deng Bingding said lightly, "He may already be about to wake up. And this Tao hard test." Huang Ziku said, "Then what about Zhang Yu's score? What else can we do?" Deng Bingding sighed, "At least this illusion can't test his limit." After saying that, she recorded Zhang Yu, valuation unknown. Tao hard test failed to test the limit.